Hey there. So I basically I'm making this video as a review for my time at WGU doing the bachelors in psychology program. As you can tell, I'm outside. There's traffic and stuff, so hopefully you can hear me well. And yeah, let me know if you have any questions from this video and stuff. But I'm gonna try to semi-briefly cover the classes, the way that WGU works, and just my overall time there. So hopefully this is informative for anyone seeking it out, because there's not a lot of like YouTube content about the program. It's relatively new. So I started the beginning of January of this year, so 2025, and finished mid-June of this year as well. But my term went until the end of June, so technically ending on July 1st. And yeah, it's a relatively newer program. I started it like 6 months after they introduced it, which I didn't even know that. I was just looking for like a program essentially, and it's one of them that popped up. So yeah, it was just kind of a lucky or a fitting coincidence, I guess, that I was looking for it. I found it. So yeah, before WGU, I was looking at going to a school near me, and it was going to be like a 4-year bachelor's in psychology program. I'm going to go on and do my master's in counseling and my master's in human resources. And excuse me, yeah, it was just like a stepping stone essentially. Because yeah, a bachelor's in psychology is in itself a useless degree essentially. Like, it's the bare bones when you're applying for a job and they require any sort of bachelor's degree. It would be beneficial in that situation, but in terms of working in like the mental health field, there are a lot of different types of jobs that you can go into with that degree, but the pay is horrible and the job conditions are worse. So not really what I'm trying to do. Lots of entry-level positions that people start and quit pretty quickly because just lots of reasons. But anyways, so yeah, I mean, the degree in itself is, if you're doing a BS in psychology or a BA in psychology, you're likely preparing for the future, whether it's, social work or counseling or clinical psychology or doing your doctorate or your PsyD. It's a prerequisite undergrad essentially to get you to where you want to go. So again, for me, I'm going to do my master's in counseling. Once I finish that, I'm going to open my own practice specializing in men's mental health and primarily telehealth. And then I want to do my master's in HR to have more options essentially, and I'm also just into HR as well. So I feel like it'd be a good way to open the door. Initially I was going to do my MSW and then do like the clinical license for that and do counseling as well. But frankly, for me, like, social work just does not fucking interest me at all. I'm also gonna swear I'm not sponsored and I don't make YouTube videos, so I'm just gonna be very like forward with you and stuff like that, because again, this is more so for people who are looking for information, because again, there's not a lot of information out there. I'm not really trying to be like a professional YouTuber. So anyways, yeah, so the whole social work field is awesome. There's so much good stuff about it. I'm a much more like one-on-one type of person, so counseling is very complimentary to me, just in my nature essentially. And yeah, I mean, social work is a lot more community outreach kind of stuff. There's a ton of stuff that you can do with a master's in the social work, especially if you have the clinical license. Like, speaking of HR stuff, I mean, you can do that. You can be DEI, you can be in like team management, team leadership, anything like that. It's a really great degree to have. It's just not for me. Like, I know that if I pursued social work, I would either withdraw from the program or I would finish it, and I would be so burnt out that I wouldn't have the energy to do the clinical nice on the side of it, and yeah, just want to do my thing. So that's a little bit of a backstory of like my reasoning of, you know, what I was doing and stuff like that. So yeah, for the program itself though, the bachelor's in psych, I loved it. So I've went back to school quite a few times. I was at community college for a while. I originally went to school for photography and definitely did not want to pursue that after doing 3 years of black and white film, because it's just a totally different thing. But so I was kind of doing like general elective stuff like that at community college, and the last time that I was there, I ended up dropping out like the last like month of the semester, because I just knew that I had no idea what I was doing, and this was probably like 10 years ago or something. So I was, you know, working full time and doing like a few classes, and I was like, this is just a waste of my time essentially to like stress myself out. So that like really dropped my GPA to like 2 point something. I can't remember what WGU, I think WGU requires like 2.5, maybe 2.6. I want to say like 2.5 or 2.8 to like get into any of their programs, I think. But anyways, I didn't meet the requirement because the last month that I was in community college, I just quit going to classes, so I failed 4 classes. So that significantly affected my GPA and all of that. So basically what I did, I talked to someone in enrollment at WGU for the program, and they were like, you know, there's plenty of people who are in this position as well too, not a big deal. And so yeah, the person I talked with, they were just like, yeah, you know, there's like WGU Academy, so people are doing that. It's kind of like a pre-WGU kind of thing, where it's like you go there, or at least the notion I got was that, you know, if you're in my position where your GPA doesn't meet a requirement, or if you just want to do like 1 or 2 classes, I think WGU Academy is kind of for that, where it's like, you know, you're either like dipping your foot in, kind of checking it out, or you're trying to get your GPA up so that you can get into the program that you want to be in, which is my case. So basically with all of that, I had 1 class from community college that transferred in, which is writing composition, like a writing composition course. So that checked out, so didn't have to do that. That was great. And then nothing else transferred in. So I was starting pretty much at 0. And yeah, so that transferred in, and then the person I was talking with, she was like, there's like 10 courses that you can choose from the bachelor's in psych program to do through WGU to get into the program. And I was like, well, I'm doing, you know, psych is my undergrad, so I was like, fuck it, like I'll just do like intro to psych. Did that. It was phenomenal. It was super good. I mean, it was a lot, and I'll get to that later. The course itself though was such a good intro, like, and especially in like the general trajectory of the entire course itself and the degree itself, I feel like it was very representative of things that will be discussed in the future, and just, it's an introductory course, so it was a great introduction to psychology. Lots of information about like, you know, different founders such as like Alfred Adler, Freud, Carl Rogers. That was a huge like light bulb moment for me. The introduction to Carl Rogers and his like humanistic psychology approach and like person-centered therapy. That's really what I want to do. I think it's amazing for so many reasons. But yeah, no, very like holistic and very again, it's an intro course. It gives you an intro. It's great. So yeah, I love that. And then probably took me like 2 weeks, maybe a week. I think it actually took me a week and a half to finish the course. And I am really, really happy that I was in that situation. My whole plan with WGU, which is what I did, was to accelerate my program and do it in a term, which WGU, a term is 6 months. Because A, I want to move on with my life and get into my grad program and do all of that. And B, I'm not loaded, so money-wise, like if I can do everything in one term instead of 2 or 3, that is definitely preferred. So yeah, I was really happy like I did that. And I met my goal at the end of it. So yeah, it was all positive things essentially. So I did the Intro to Psych course, I passed that, got into it. I feel like WGU Academy was very representative of how the courses will be introduced to you. The denseness, for lack of a better word, of the course material. You know, it's like they're college level courses, so most of them are going to be pretty overwhelming is not the right word because it's definitely doable, but they're very course heavy. You know, they're teaching you what you need to know essentially, and there's a lot of things that encompass that. So it's a lot of information, but if you're like me and you're genuinely interested, it's more so fun. It's fun to learn about things, and it's fun to be able to connect things that you've learned to other things in the future. And it also reinforces what you've already learned. So it's kind of just positive all around where, you know, you're just continuing to move forward and building up your own confidence as well too. Excuse me, because like, yeah, every course that you pass is one step closer to you being, you know, done with your program and getting your degree and moving on and doing what you want to do. So it's great. So did all of that, and then for like the first class that you have at WGU, I think if you're in an associate's or a bachelor's program, or I imagine if you haven't been to WGU, there's like the first class was like orientation, super easy, just basically shows you how to like write a paper in like the APA 7th edition format, which yeah is really easy. Shows you how to do how to like label your references like correctly, how to do in-text citation, how to do like all of the stuff that comes along with that. And that's great as like your first course, because with WGU, so they're competency based. So each class is either going to be an OA or a PA. So an OA is an objective assessment. So it's objective. So they're basically tests. They're just standardized. You have to, so you do them on your computer, obviously, and then you have to have an external webcam that you basically set up in like a side profile, and so you're basically being recorded the entire time you're doing the test, so that you're, you know, not cheating essentially. It's through ProctorU, which is through, it starts with a G. Graduate? Guardian. It's through Guardian, which is like WGU's like external browser, and then the proctoring is through ProctorU. So it's essentially a third party. It's meant to be very objective and neutral. So yeah, you're basically just doing that. Some people are uncomfortable with it. I personally didn't really see the big deal, honestly. Not trying to downplay other people's concerns, but I saw some people were like, you know, my safety and my stuff like that. It's like, these people don't know where you live. Like, they're like, you're confirming that you're a student at WGU by, showing like your license and stuff like that, which I guess that does show your address, but I don't know. Again, not trying to downplay anyone's like concerns and stuff, because that is a valid thing. For me, it wasn't really a second thought. It was more so, I'm going to take this test and I'm going to pass it, and then I'm going to move on to my next class, and then I'm just going to keep on going. So that was kind of my focus, but yeah, I can see people's concerns. It is kind of a weird thing, and it's a little awkward too. I kind of talk to myself, especially when I'm like test taking, and yeah, like they don't really want you doing that, because it looks like, from an outside perspective, it's like, who are you talking to? Why are you talking in general, essentially, like you're taking a test? But for some questions, they're worded really weird, and it's like I need to like speak them aloud, or at least just kind of mouth them so that I can be like, go word by word or sentence by sentence. So yeah, it's really easy though. I think pretty much with the OA classes, like you have like a PA as well, and like so there's like a difference between that, like where it's like the PA is like the performance assessment, but in OA classes the PA is the practice test essentially. So what I did for that was basically, hey, I don't know, I think it looks like it's locked maybe. I think they just thought it would be too hot out today or something. Just didn't show up. But so if you take like the PA in those OA classes first, oh, it is. Cool. Just looked like it had a lock. If you do the PA first, basically that gives you a really good idea of like what material to look out for, like when you're going through the course to do the test and stuff like that. So in every class that I had, I always did the PA first before even looking over the course material, because it's letting you know in a passive way where it's like, this will more than likely be on there, and if it's not, then at least you know it for like the future, and you can just, look out for that information and just be better prepared essentially. So yeah, I would do that, and especially as the course progressed, so much, like especially with psychology, so many terms, so many ideas, like so much stuff is like very like crossover, and like it's gonna be really easy to kind of associate like a term with like a founder or an idea or something like that, where it's like it's all very like complementary, and the way that the psych program is set up is very complementary as well too, where it's just like the order of the classes makes a lot of sense, even with the classes that like suck. So like for me, like I was not excited about applied probability and statistics. Like that's unfortunately a class that you have to take, and then there's another stats course that you have to take, and the second one isn't too bad. The course material is fucking horrible. That and intro to biology just is like the most dense, like to the point where it's like I don't even understand what you're saying because it's worded so crazy. So watch out for the second stats course because it's fucking weird. But the OA was one of the easiest OAs that I've taken. It's less about doing math, and it's more like conceptual, where it's like you're looking at Bell graphs and histograms and correlation coefficients and like different like mean values, and interpreting like what that is. But fuck statistics. That shit, I'm sorry that you have to do it, and if math is like cool for you, you'll probably be fine, but for me, like I was like, this is hellish. The first stats course sucks too. That's the one where you're doing math, and then the second one is interpreting graphs and stuff. which is a lot more realistic and lifelike if you're going into like analytics and stuff like that, or HR or IO psychology, where you're going to be dealing with stats and charts and information and data and fucking everything a lot more frequently than if you're doing counseling or something, which that's definitely a part of that still. But anyways, trying to stay on track. So yeah, did orientation. It went great. And then I don't remember my first class after that. It was a while ago, but yeah, the classes are very like complementary, like the order, like it makes sense. Again, you're building on what you're doing. And then you're doing the OA, which those are the tests, those are objective, those are neutral. The PA, so this is different than the PA that's within the OA. The PA on itself stands for performance assessment. So for classes that are PAs and not OAs, you are going to pretty much 95% of the time be writing a paper. So again, that intro orientation course, really like reach out if you need to. I just used like YouTube resources just because I was like, I don't want to do all of this reading and like just like get to the point with like how I'm supposed to do this. So I looked up some like YouTube videos and stuff or whatever, but for those PA courses, it is crucial that you know how to reference and source and in-text citation, APA 7th edition, all that shit. You need to know how to do that because it will come up, and it is mandatory for every paper that you write. You need to reference properly, you need to cite sources properly, you need to do in-text citation properly, you have to do all this shit and do it properly. So yeah, it's not a difficult course. You just want to make sure that you understand the bare minimum, honestly. I mean, I did in-text citation, references, citation, stuff like that. Those are pretty much my main ones. Capstone at the end, I ended up writing like a 20-page paper, and had all of my resources and stuff in that. References as well, especially things like that. The more you have, the technically longer it makes your paper. Some people are really into the technicality of that. But the capstone was really fun. So that was all PA. It was great. Like basically it's 3 tasks for the capstone. So it's your last thing you're doing to get the degree, and the first task is the first third of the paper that you're writing. So you have to come up with a concept, you have to come up with what you're writing your paper about, and then you can't, most PA classes, you can do task 1, submit it, and then start on task 2, submit it. And then, if there's any feedback or revisions you have to make, you just have to make those and then resubmit it. It's really, really easy. And so, yeah, if it's helpful for anyone too, like mine was a little broad. I wasn't sure if I would pass task 1, to be honest, because you're supposed to write about a specific community, a specific issue. So I chose to write about ACEs, adverse childhood experiences, and the effect of PTSD and how that essentially, PTSD from ACEs that affects childhood development into adulthood, with an emphasis on people within the LGBTQ plus community, my community. And so I kind of kept on building. I also included the importance of potentially revisiting like the diagnostics for neurodivergence, autism, and trauma, because you'll learn, especially in the psychopathology course, those 3 are kind of inextricably linked. And there's a big problem with that within the DSM-5 of diagnosing people and misdiagnosing people, whether it's with some type of neurodivergence or autism or trauma, and they're misdiagnosed for like their whole life. Like that's fucked up. And there's just too many common similarities between the three of them to really have that 100% distinction that like, yes, this is the correct diagnosis. So yeah, I included kind of all of that, but when I got it back, the person who reviewed it, they were like, this is great, keep going. So the capstone is the only one where you can't start your next task immediately. You have to get permission. That's also a really good safeguard too, so that you don't write like 10 pages and then you find out that they're totally useless and you have to start over. That would be terrible. I actually had that for a human resources course that I had. It was like a mock interview thing. The thing that kind of annoys me with the PAs, honestly, I'm a fan of writing papers. I don't want to do it for the rest of my entire life. I'm not trying to get into like clinical research stuff like that. But I can write a paper the same way that I can, go on talking, as you can see. So I'm not opposed to that, but the rubric within the PAs is just worded really weird sometimes, and it's just vague. Like, I can't even think of a particular instance, but there was definitely times where I was like, I'm just gonna do this section, I'm gonna write this bit, I'm gonna make sure that if I have to revise it, there's a lot of like open air to do that. And then usually it would pass, but there was a few times it came back and they were like, well, you didn't include this and you didn't include that. It's like, well, yeah, because it wasn't like specified. So it's just very strange. Like some sections will be very, very specific, and then some will be incredibly vague. So just be specific with everything essentially, and then you'll probably be fine. But yeah, so there's that. I had 3 presentations I had to do in the way of a PowerPoint. One was like, the last part of the capstone is basically summarizing your paper into a PowerPoint. It only has to be 7 slides. You also don't have to do any sort of narration for it, so it's literally just like bullet points, keep it short. That's my problem. I like detail, essentially, and so yeah, I could kind of go on. So that was super easy, and then there was two other classes I had to do PowerPoints and do presentations for. The one I really, really liked, can't remember what class it was for. It was kind of earlier. It was probably like a quarter of the way through the program. I think it was the cognitive psychology course. But basically, I wrote about the effect of burnout in the workplace, how that affects people not only at work, but outside as well in their personal life, and the mental effect and toll it has on a person to, progress through their life, essentially. That was super fun. Did a presentation on that. The other course was super fun too. It was marketing and visual something, advertising, something within that realm. It's the only one. You had to come up with a presentation and a plan to like implement a company-wide change, essentially. So I'm a massage therapist, and I've been doing that for 12 years, which is a big reason why I'm back in school, because I'm trying to fucking get out of that because it fucked up my body. So I wrote mine on a company-wide implementation of like a company wellness program, essentially. So there was like a spa on site, and there was like a massage therapist, acupuncture, things that don't really exist in the workplace, because what corporation is really going to put that much energy into their employees? Maybe I'm wrong. I hope so. That would be a cool world to live in if that happens someday, but it's just not a common thing, is my point. But yeah, so that was really, really fun. So yeah, those are the PAs. Again, trying to not get on a tangent. Those are the PAs and the OAs. That covers that. So yeah, another huge part of your WGU experience is your program mentor. So mine, she was amazing. Her name is Joyce. Not going to say her last name for her privacy. Probably shouldn't even have said her first name, but I think it'll be fine. My program mentor was an angel. She was fucking great. I was a little abrasive with her, like when we first met, because I was just so determined to just do this shit, get through it in the 6-month timeline. With the 2 classes, I only had 2 classes that transferred in. I had 100 credits left to do for my bachelors, and I was just like, I'm gonna run myself into the ground, but I'm gonna fucking do this, and then I'm gonna move on, and it's gonna be great. I did it. I'm happy about that. But when I first talked with her, I, was very just like, you can kind of leave me alone. You don't really need to reach out to me. I'm very self-motivated. I don't need to be told what to do. I appreciate you're there. But it's like you can essentially be there for someone else. Like you won't really need to check on me so much. And I didn't say that to her because that'd be just kind of a dick thing to say. But I was just like, yeah, I can do this, and I don't, I'll be good essentially. I'll let you know if I need anything. And so it took us a little while to kind of hit our stride, but probably like a quarter of the way through, we really did, and I really got it. And I've seen other people really struggle with this, and they'll struggle through their entire program. Like their program mentor is like, in their mind, like they're like out to get them, and they like want them to stay at WGU indefinitely and never finish. And it's really sad. I kind of just came to the point mentally where I was like, okay, I have an idealized version of what I thought this was going to look like in my head before I started it, and that is not reality. And, I remember even when I was first talking with my PM program mentor, I told her, I was like, yeah, I'm going to finish this degree in 6 months. She's like, well, how do you think you're going to do that? And I kind of had to bite my tongue and be like, what? Like, I'm like, that is not the response that I would have. I'd be like, fuck yeah, like, go crazy. Like, finish this fucking degree. Like, that's great. So to me, it was a little like, it was just a weird response. I was like, I know that you work for WGU, but like, there's nothing that you can do that's going to hinder me finishing this in 6 months. And so we kind of had to hit our stride. We ended up doing it. And we basically, she was like, you like need to prove to me that I can trust you with what you say you're going to do. And that was not and she said that to me the first time that we talked. I really, really liked her. She was very direct, and any sort of questions, information I needed, she was always on top of it. And it was just very to the point and just helpful, and wanting to help too. I think I had to get there mentally to be open to someone helping me, because like a lot of people, like I like to figure things out. I like to just do my own thing, and just again, like it's like that's my whole purpose. I already know what I'm doing. That's also a part of orientation too. You have to write a little paper about like, why are you back in school? What is your reason? What's your purpose? It's kind of cheesy, but I pulled it up like throughout the program, especially when I was feeling just dead. And just kind of reading over it and remembering like the mind frame I was in when I was writing it, where it was very positive and optimistic, and this is something that's building my future. It was really nice to be able to look back at that and have that just push, essentially. And so that was great. And then with like my PM, you know, she's like, you know, you need to prove that I can trust you to finish the things you say you're going to finish. So what she meant by that, and I knew it in the time, again, it's not a personal thing, but she's like, you know, every course that I open for you and you hit that little button that says like start to commit, like that is the fine print in your face, essentially, because it says for every class, like, you know, if you commit to starting this class, you're committing to finishing it as well. And you can take as many courses as you want in like a term. So, you know, some people will take a little bit slower, some people will do what I did and like accelerate their way through and stuff like that. You can, you know, do it however you want. But regardless, if you don't finish that class and your term ends, you have to pay for that class, you have to pay for a second term, and you also have to redo that class. So if you're committing to starting, like, you're told ahead of time. Like, there's multiple ways that you're informed throughout your program, whether it's your program mentor or hitting the start to commit button that gives you a little preface like, you're agreeing to do this, so do it. And yeah, I mean, maybe some people are just like misinformed. I saw some people who were like pretty pissed about it, which I don't really get that. Like, they're not out to like get you. Like, I feel like WGU honestly went a fucking above and beyond in every single capacity that I could think of. I mean, their bachelor's in psych program is just under $5,000 for an entire bachelor's degree. I really didn't expect that much, but they have so much support. They have so many resources. You know, if you don't have Microsoft Word or you don't have the whole Microsoft Outlet, because you get the whole Microsoft like suite once you're enrolled as a student. I don't know if you get it permanently, but I'm definitely still using it on my personal computer, so maybe. But you have all these resources. You have like the WGU library. I wouldn't use that. I would use Google Scholars if you're doing any sort of scholarly papers, like any sort of writing. Google Scholars is pretty much primarily what I used. But yeah, I mean, you have that. You have your instructors. The instructors are awesome, which I don't know how you couldn't be like loving your job on a daily basis, like waking up at home, talking to some students who are hopefully excited about the program and like helping them get through their, you know, subjects that they're struggling with. You know, I actually did that with my intro to psych course, because a lot of people are like, you know, the people who accelerate at WGU, they're already in that field, they're already familiar. You know, I think that's a lot more common for IT. I mean, I know that WGU is the place to go for IT. There's so many people that I've seen who are just like so happy and really seem into the program, which is really fucking cool. But yeah, like, there's tons of resources and stuff, but I mean, it's like, I don't really have a background in psych. I think a lot of it is common sense, to me personally. Especially with like, again, building on concepts and stuff like that. Like, you know, it's gonna make sense. But anyways, so I remember in my intro to psych course, I talked to my instructor and we were talking about, you know, like classical conditioning versus like operant conditioning. And I think it was just so much material that now it's so easy to distinguish, you know, where it's like classical conditioning is unconscious, essentially. It's something that's like built up over time that you do, you know, where it's like, I guess like if you were like leaving your house and like slamming your door, like your neighbors are probably gonna react and like they're gonna be like, shut the fuck up and like whatever. So if that happens enough, you'll probably be conditioned over time to, like, you know, stop slamming your door and close it like a normal person without having to, you know, have a reverberation go down the hallway. So that would be my example for classical conditioning. As I was saying that, I was like, I feel like that could also be operant conditioning, because the negative consequence would be, you know, your neighbors hating you and cussing you out every time you leave. But yeah, so there's that. And then, like, operant conditioning is, you know, it's reinforced by positive or negative reinforcement and positive or negative punishments. And stuff like that. So basically, I was talking with the course instructor. I was like, hey, like, can you help me? Especially with, like, the positive punishment, positive reinforcement, negative punishment, negative reinforcement. Especially the negative ones. Those ones are, negative is more so like taking something away. It's not necessarily like a negative outcome. So it's like, you know, taking away a kid's toy or something that they're using to be, like, really disruptive or whatever, and the parent's like, oh, like, if you keep doing that, like, I'm gonna have to take this away, and, like, that's gonna suck, you're gonna, you know, not be happy about that. And then they keep doing it, and then they take it away. So yeah, like, the negative punishment would be, like, the toy is taken away, but you know, like, the negative consequence or reinforcement is that that thing is physically being taken away. Like, it's negative as in, like, being removed. So those may or may not have been good examples, kind of on the spot. But anyways, so all of that to say, I talked to my instructor. She was awesome, and she really helped me to distinguish between those and be able to pass the course really well. And yeah, I know that those are things that, again, are going to be used in my, you know, daily life and stuff, and just especially in grad school, talking about things like that. So that was great. But anyways, yeah, so use the resources that you have is my point, essentially. The program mentor, they're there to help you. It is definitely in your best interest to get to know them. And again, they need to, like, trust you. You need to, like, build a rapport with them. It's really not something that you can just, like, not do or avoid and hope that, you know, it just doesn't come up in the future. Your program mentor is your access to opening your next course, unless it's, like, the weekend. Otherwise, you would, like, have to email, like, tier 1 support, and they could do it for you. But it's just good. Just put in the time and the effort and just be open to them. You know, don't do what I did initially and just be like, hey, I don't really need you. I can do it on my own. Thanks for the, you know, being here, but I'm good. They really are there to help you, and I ended up talking with my program mentor at the end for my exit interview, and we talked for, like, an hour, and honestly, I consider her, like, a close friend at this point, like, you know, a close acquaintance. I asked her, I was like, you know, from talking with her actually and developing such a good relationship, I realized that I would also really be into, like, being a school counselor or, like, a program mentor, especially for WGU. And I was like, you know, can I keep your information? Can I reach out to you in the future? Like, I don't know if that's weird. If not, like, I totally understand. And she was super open to it, and it was just a really cool, just kind of, like, positive end to everything, where it was like, you know, it started out a little bit, you know, trying to get to know each other, trying to get on the same page and stuff like that. But, like, yeah, I mean, at the end, it was just, like, so positive and so great. So, anyways, so that's that. I'm going to try to kind of wrap things up, because it's been, like, 45 minutes, basically. I might make another video. I'm not, like I said, I'm not a YouTuber. I don't, like, do this kind of shit, but, like, I feel like there's just so much information. So if there's anything specific you're looking for, like, I will definitely make another video. I have no problem talking, as you can all see. And so I think the last thing I might talk about, or try to like summarize things, include other things. So, oh yeah. So courses, I'm getting there. I didn't, and I'm really happy I didn't, do anything through Sophia Strader Line, I think it's called. I think that one's less common. Sophia and study.com are the most common ones. I didn't do any courses through them. You do you. I would not recommend anyone do them if you know that you're going to be applying for a graduate program afterwards. Unless it's through WGU, in which case you might be fine. I would definitely check with the programs. So basically, at the beginning when I started at WGU, I was actually thinking, because I was kind of introduced to study.com and Sophia like later, so I was actually thinking of withdrawing from WGU, doing all these courses like even quicker, and then transferring all of them in, and then I would be guaranteed to finish within the term that I set for myself. I did not do that, and I'm very happy I didn't do that. Excuse me, especially because Study and Sophia, I think both, one or the other, maybe both. But basically, they changed all of their courses so that all of their tests at the end are open book tests. So you don't need to know anything, you don't need to study anything. You just need to know where to find the information and what the correct answer is from that information. So this year, I think they changed the protocol for that. That to me is just a massive negative detriment, because it's just really dumb for yourself, where like, you know, if you're getting into like, you know, you're doing a psych class, there's a lot of different founders, there's a lot of different theories, a lot of them are very similar to each other, especially in humanistic psychology, and you know, all of this stuff. So it's like having the know of like what the little distinctions are about the programs and stuff like that is really important, so you know, you can actually show that like, you know, you know what you're talking about essentially. But yeah, so I'm gonna move because it's about to get real loud. So basically, sorry, a little overwhelmed. Basically though, with Study and Sophia, I don't really feel like they're your friend when it comes to school stuff, because since they changed it to like open book tests, like that already kind of makes their credentials that were already not like the greatest in terms of reputation, like more so in terms of like how easy it is to like test out of something or to finish a class. Like you're not really going to be putting that much effort into it. So basically my point with all of that is that there was a few like local universities that I was looking at, and I like to think ahead. So I was just thinking of like grad school and stuff. And I was like, you know, if I were to do these courses through like Study and Sophia, would I still be able to get into this program? Like, would these courses transfer over essentially? And they were like, no, they would not. And these are for the local grad programs that I was looking at. So yes, in the time of doing them at WGU, it would have been fine and I would have been able to move on to my next course. But in the long run, it's just a setback where, you know, if the course that you think you know, you've done it, you don't have to do it again. Like, you know, you're gonna down the line be very unpleasantly surprised when you find out that, you know, that essentially didn't really matter, and you know, paid for a course that is not applicable to the future program that you want to do. Okay, so that's just my advice. I know some people are really into doing it, especially if you're not really looking at like a grad school program, or you're not looking to do anything further than what you're doing for the foreseeable future. Then go for it if you want. I mean, I still wouldn't really go for it because, again, like, you know, like, this is information that you're losing, you know, and an education that you're paying for. And again, if this concept, which it will be, brought up in the future in your program and you don't really know what it is, then you have to take the extra time to understand it. And, you know, you could have just done the material and not just, you know, looked at a textbook essentially to find the answers. So yeah, I would not recommend Study or Sophia for that reason. Especially again, if you're looking at a grad school, those programs that you transfer in through Study or Sophia are likely not going to transfer in, even if they got you past where you needed to be at WGU when you were there. So I would just consider that, and also just do what I did if you want to, which is just reach out to like the prospect like grad program that you're looking at, if you're looking at doing something like that, and be like, hey, like, I'm thinking of doing these courses through Sophia and Study, like, would that transfer in? And if they're like, nope, then you know that now, and you can move forward with your life. So yeah, that, and then I think I'm gonna kind of just stick to that today. There's so much that I could talk about. So yeah, it's been 52 minutes. Yeah, so if this has been helpful, like, I would love to know, you know, and if you have like any further questions, specific things, if people seem interested, then I would definitely be open to making another video if it's helpful. And yeah, in conclusion, like, for me, like, again, like, the experience was just so positive. Like, whether it was like my program mentor being supportive, or like the course material, or the instructors, and like the willingness of the instructors to like devote so much time to you as if you were in the classroom, you know, as that's how it should be, but it's online, and you know, you don't really know. And I think too, like, I actually will make another video about just researching WGU before I started there, because yeah, like, it was too good to be true for me. I was like, there's some sort of fine print, but it's really not. And the psych program was super fun, super informative. It was great. But again, yeah, let me know if you have any questions and stuff like that, and if this helps you, and yeah, hopefully it helps whoever. All right, bye-bye.